This is Corey. Welcome to the show for the ones ready to break the cycle of lies, angst, propaganda, and illusion. To embrace the extraordinary journey of truth, faith over fear. Welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping in. Um, this is a new kind of format that I'm working on. Usually Samantha's here with me. Her forces that's take precedence in Scott's career, and it's me. Uh, so in this new, I'm going to talk about things, a lot of relatable stuff that I like to talk about. A lot of health, a lot of fitness, a lot of doing the hard things, a lot of mental toughness, a lot of masculine shit because that's kind of just who I am. And we're going to touch on some religion. We're going to touch on some politics. We're going to touch on some current events. And the reason we're going to do all that is because it's all tied together. It's all part of our life. Um, there is that adage that there's two things you don't discuss at the dinner table, and that's religion. That's because they say that you and realize that you have a lot more than you really do. Um, the message in the world right now is over fear. And what I intend to do here is find some faith in all that fear. Uh, we're made and we're taught and we're told and we're pushed to react instead of be proactive. And you can't be proactive from a state of fear. And that's why they constantly push that message. And again, here, I will talk about current events. I will talk about politics. I will talk religion, but I will not propagate fear mongering. A lot of people are making their mark and their brand on reactionary, and I don't want to do that. I want to bring up problems and find solutions and resolutions to navigate through those problems. And in order to do that, we have to have a certain mental toughness. And that's what today's topic is about. And it's about doing hard things and how it makes you more resilient. So we're going to talk about and explore the concept of doing hard things and how it makes us more resilient. Resilience is an essential trait and it allows us to bounce back from setbacks, face challenges head on, and lead more fulfilling lives. It helps us deal with the fear. We'll dive into psychological and physiological aspects, help you understand the importance of pushing your boundaries and embracing difficult tasks. So, there's a lot of science behind doing hard things. Recently, Andrew Huberman was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and they were talking about cold plunges and heat therapy and how it literally changes the brain and how it helps with neuroplasticity is what they call it. Because there was a time where they thought that your brain was hardwired, and the adage "you can't teach an old dog new tricks" was basically about humans learning things well into their 40s and 50s and stuff like that. But we've come to find out that that's just not true. We've come to find out that you can learn things later in life. How we're learning those things is the neuroplasticity in our brains. And what that means is you're just connecting more neurons and things like that. So resilience it's not innate. You're not born with it. It's a type of mindset that's cultivated and strengthened over time. When we face difficult situations, our bodies and minds adapt, leading to growth and improving coping mechanisms, embracing challenges, positive attitudes, and help us build more resilience to face future obstacles with more confidence. So confidence is kind of a tricky thing. I'm reading the book Do Hard Things by Steve Magnus, and he talks about uh, the early 2000s, I think it was, when they started promoting confidence. And what they were doing was they were promoting confidence without trial. And what I mean by that is they were telling kids that they could be whatever they wanted to be without them having to do hard things for them to earn the mindset that, yes, I can do these things. They were just telling them that they could do these things without doing the actual things. It's like telling a gymnast that they're number one in the world and they've never competed before. So when they go out, they compete for their first time and they're dead last, their confidence is shattered. And there's a lot of people walking around with false confidence today. You see it in your Chads and your So Boys and any random UFC fan who thinks they can win on a fight, or your Monday morning quarterbacks who've never played football in their lives but know all the things they could have done to win the game on Sunday. That's all false confidence, and that comes from not having to go through the trials and tribulations of building that resilience and that mental toughness. There's tons of studies that show the link between overcoming adversity and building resilience. When we push ourselves out of our comfort zone and tackle tough tasks, our brains form new neural connections. That's that neuroplasticity, enhancing cognitive abilities and problem solving skills. This adaptability is known again as neuroplasticity and enables us to handle stress and uncertainty more effectively. I have notes and I'm reading off my notes because I have trouble with recall, especially when I'm trying to do things like this, when I'm trying to talk about a topic. So give me if it sounds a bit scripted. That's because I've been taking the time to write this out because I want it to flow properly. Because I have a tendency of doing what I'm doing right now, and that's get off topic and rambling a bit. However, it's still in the place. And this is one of those things. This is a hard thing for me. One, because you know, I don't know if it's a humility problem, right? I'm okay being told that I'm wrong. It's just a slight embarrassment when I'm trying to do things like this. And the reason I wanted to start with this topic is because I have an issue with this. Like I've been avoiding doing this because my family can hear me in the other room, and sometimes I feel goofy because I'm kind of talking to myself. So I feel like it was a perfect topic to start with. Um, in today's fast-paced world, it's easy to shy away. It's not only easy to shy away from challenges; it's almost celebrated. Um, we're celebrated for doing things that are not challenging. I mean, we see media all the time um, for doing average or below average things and being celebrated for it. Um, you know, we're early in time where uh, actors and interested in people are coming out and identifying as this and that and this and that, and they're being told they're brave, they're brave, they're brave. Um, you know, uh, Jenner or where he is now, was like nominated like the most whatever person in the world. Wasn't before he was the best woman or anything like that. It was like bravest or something like that. And then there was actually someone else who was for that same award who actually won. They've been coming out of the 20-year war and deployed multiple times. And Bruce Jenner won this award for being a man for 50 plus years and then deciding to become a woman. And, there was, I believe, the picture of a war veteran who was like severely disfigured from IED, who was, at that time barely was into life, had overcome a lot. And now, obviously living with disfigurement, but they could have easily given up. But, they gave this award to this other person for, I feel, was more political reason, actual, bravery. So And people look at that and they feel like all they have to do is do something to kind of and really substance is doesn't really have substance. I don't know if the word was a word. So they're doing things at the surface level and what's for, and it's very destructive and it's dangerous. Because there's going to be a time where we're going to need people with mental toughness and some level of resilience in order to do the things that need to be done so we can do the things we want to do, and we're not going to have those people because they have mental toughness. Instead of avoiding, we should be seeking out uh, goals. Um, by doing it, you expose to new experience and new opportunities. There was a book that I was reading, and in this book, this guy was a C-level student in high school and got to college, and he actually went to college on purpose. Not that you don't go on purpose, but he wanted to challenge himself. And how he challenged himself was he took his C-level mentality, broke it down, and started pushing smaller and smaller goals. And he ended up being really good in college, graduated with honors and all that stuff. And now the way he takes on challenges is completely different. And in this book too, the Do Hard Things book, he talks about the difference between people who are resilient and who are not resilient and who have a higher level of mental toughness is when they see things when they're going through those hard times. There's two ways you could look at it. You're either looking at it as a threat or you're looking at it as a challenge. And if you're looking at it as a threat, then you're less likely to build the mental toughness because you most likely won't get through it. And you'll shy away from it. And again, people are being rewarded and encouraged to shy away and do the latter and not face these challenges. They're facing them as threats, and then they're going on their social medias and they're crying and all that stuff, and then they're being celebrated. There was the viral video of the Starbucks person who was crying because they had to work 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week. He was a college student paying his way through college. Well, good for him, one, for getting a job. But then you're fucking crying because you have to make coffee for 5 hours a day. That's the biggest fucking crock of shit that I've ever heard. And there's another viral video floating out there. I don't know if anyone's seen it, where this chick is like bawling her fucking eyes out because she asks about time lateness or some shit. Tried to say that it was like mental disorder, and somebody told her that she was stupid. And got on social media and she cried her little eyes out. And it's one thing I feel like we should get back to doing is calling things that are stupid. Stupid. Political correctness is, a short walk to communism because we're self-censoring and doing all these things. And when you're trying to self-censor, uh, you're trying not to offend someone. And I like to do hard things. I like to know myself, and I honestly don't give a fuck if it makes you feel comfortable. It's your problem. And excuse me. But when you're doing these tasks, right? Like you can't just walk into them. And part of the reason is people aren't set up to accomplish these goals. No, set realistic goals for one, because you know in the early 2000s they start to kids that they will be without any, you know, so kids are, well, nowadays anybody wants to do is be a social media influencer, and that's all you have to do is have one viral video, which is ridiculous. But anyway, but it's not a realistic. We've gone away from people learning trades and learning actual things contribute because they don't have any toughness, they don't have any goal building skills. And when you're going into the big guy that went to college, you just get broken down into smaller tasks. Sometimes I overwhelm myself and want to get up and usually end up procrastinating because it's like a larger job I'm capable of. Then I sit down and write it out and realize something that so I use first off, a little bit biased because I am mechanically inclined. I was a mechanic in the military. But that being said, I had a side by side that kept throwing belts, and I had no idea what was wrong with it. Um, so I just let it sit there for about a month, and I fall and I decided that I would figure out something like I started in Blair trying to find out why the size I kept throwing belts. So it ended up being there was a few things been wrong. Um, I will primary clutch and the motor could have been off. Unfortunately for me, it was all three things. So my primary clutch was out, my secondary clutch was out, and my motor was misaligned. And I, it's a $20,000. So I didn't want to fuck it. So I put it off for another couple weeks. I ordered all the parts and I was going to have someone else. And I was like, fuck, dude, why don't I just do it? I'm good with using tools and using my hands, so I'll just fucking do it. So I went out there day one just to do the primary clutch. I didn't have the right tools, so I went and borrowed some tools from a local UV place. They just let me walk out the door with them. Uh, so I got the primary clutch done super easy. The next day, I got the secondary clutch done super easy. The third day, I had to align the motor, and that to me was so overwhelming because lining the motor in the transmission, it sounds super tacky, super daunting, but it's forals put on uh, primary clutch bolt and secondary clutch bolt, and then you loosen all the bolts, make a bar, holds the motor, uh, transmission in the place where it needs to be, and then you tighten it. That was it. And I had to shut away from that for a half because it was just overwhelming to me. But I did it, and it was in mind it was a lot harder than what should have been. And in clump, so there's a little bit of advice there. Somebody who's never done anything like it might be a little bit more intimidated. Nonetheless, I still went forward and did it. And there's a lot of other too. I slipped on my teeth and had the first order for about a month, and it's like, I kind of what to do. Needed an impact drip bit. So, in purchasing one, and I went there and on a YouTube video, and it walked me right through it. It was like the bolt, and you slip the spacer on there, and then you rebolt it. And like I had shied away from that, but now I will do it. And again, mechanically inclined, a little bit biased, but when it comes to fixing my vehicles, there's always that sense of like, fuck, I want to break even more. So I could have to look at it, $150 and look at it and all stuff and pressure. When you just, I mean, all the information that you ever need is consolidated in one place. I don't, I don't agree with them politically, but fuck, they have all the information. If you need something, it's a verb. Verb. Google it. And people do they decide they took them down and them. Yeah. Everyone's knight fighting armor, even the dudes, and when they because they're scared of failure. Is the crux of it. And me too. Even with this podcast, uh, when me and Samantha first started, we would say, I don't care if it reaches one person, but as long as it reaches that one person, I feel like I did a job well done. But when you're kind of doing it by yourself and you don't have someone else bounce it off, that's gets through something. It's a little bit hard. So yeah, here I am. And it could go good, it could go bad, but here I am. So, gotta embrace the possibility of failure. Um, as Savage says in Mythbusters, failure is always an option. And I don't like to call it failure. I like to call it lesson. Um, and in life, you learn lessons. How I got to be where I am today, I did what I want to do. I learned all the lessons for me. Um, but also, you have to surround yourself with people who have similar interests and want to succeed. If you don't, then I mean, you can do it on your own, but it's so much better when you have somebody who's not being your cheerleader, kind of keeping you on path. Because the last thing anyone needs in life when they're trying to build until time, this is a fucking cheerleader because that person will, because even when doing something wrong and they'll cheer you through it and it's just the wrong thing. And you know, women have a hard time with this. They'll cheer you on and watch you be destructive behavior. And, you know, they're being passive and trying to get your friendship like that. But dudes square you away real quick. And trying to sound like a massage thing. That's just in my personal experience. So, get around people who are one thing. There's a fitness influencer that I follow, and like every 2 or 3 weeks, he posts the same thing. He's like, if you hang around with 5 smokers, you'll be the sixth. If you hang around with 5 alcoholics, you'll be the sixth. If you hang around with a lot of people in prison, you'll be the sixth. You are accumulating 5 people you spend time with. So if you're spending your time with losers, you're gonna be sure. It's just that's just what it is. If you surround yourself with winners, then you're going to be a winner. That's just what it is. Uh, you have to let go of a certain amount of fear and practice some mindset. Um, I've meditating since it's been with some that I actually like a year and a half, 2 years before I met Samantha. I know a lot more since I met her. She's actually made it a part of daily, weekly lives in order to reevaluate things. And that's another thing that we constantly have to do. We constantly have to reevaluate things. You can get to a place where you are better than where you were, but you know you can be better. And that's what is striving, not perfection, but optimization. And it's what helps you do it. As to become more educated and know is you want. Um, One of the hardest things anyone can do is maintain mental, emotional, and spiritual. And the easiest place to start is with physical health, and people are so terrified of doing that. And it's so close tied to mental and emotional resilience. Your physical health is so closely tied to resilience. If you are physically fit, that means that you do hard things. That means that you put a bar on your back and you squat. That means you put a bar on your chest and you push. That means you wake up. That means you eat the right food and you do the right things. Um, Regular exercise and balance and sufficient rest contribute to our stress situations. This is science, and I can't debate science because I'm not in the field. And Huberman does a very good job. Again, from the podcast he did with Joe Rogan, they talk about it, and um, just it's one of those things that you can start to control that will spill over into other aspects of life. I'm a personal trainer, and I have been working with a lot of clients, and some of them are haven't for 10, 15 years and just getting back into it. And they're having trouble like dealing with them not being where they were the last time they worked out. But now we're, you know, 12 to 16 weeks into a program, they're hitting milestones and they're feeling good about themselves. And their relationship is feeling better. Their team performance is feeling better. They're able to handle stress at jobs. One of my clients is a security manager at one of the casinos in Vegas, and she got switched over to graveyard and had a hard time dealing with that because she still had to fit in her program. But she found a resolution. Instead of sitting back and living in fear, she used that as a challenge and was able to overcome that challenge. And now we're kicking ass. You know, adversity isn't something to be avoided. Adversity is something to be looked at, measured, weighed, and look for a proactive way to get through that. It's an opportunity for growth and self improvement. When we face adversity head, we discover strengths and capabilities. And we may not, you know, uh, this acknowledgement empowers us to face future challenges with confidence, determination. Again, so this is what I saw earlier when you talking about embrace challenge and keep shying away from it. Adversity is that challenge. You need to look at it as a challenge or look at it as a threat. If you look at it as a threat, it will crush you. You've already lost. If something happens, your boss is a dick or your coworker is trying to screw you over and you look at that as a threat, you've already lost. Look at that. One, where did it go wrong? Because anything and everything that goes wrong in your life is your people contribute to it. How you react to it 100% within. So first, you have to figure out what did I do to make that person mad at me? And that person just being fucking piece of shit, and you didn't do anything to instigate that. Then, so your fault because you're allowing that person to do that. There's a tactful way to approach a situation like that. But you have to and you can't be reacting emotions to do that, to handle that. You have to be able to grow your mindset to be able to handle adversity like that. For personal stuff, uh, one of the big things I've ever had to deal with is 2019. My last pancreas, my last MMA fight, and I was sick for nearly 2 years. I nearly died twice. This time a bit more serious because I started leaking pancreatic within my abdomen and not food to do. And most things were going to quit, but because I got through my entire life, I was able to make surgery. And night it aimed, it was a couple days after a failed surgery to cap my pancreas off, and I was going to be, lifelong diabetic, and I don't know where it would be, but I couldn't do the surgery because I scar tissue on my eyes, so I didn't know what to do. So they stuck me back in the room, and Samantha was there helping me. She was going to be there for my surgery and then leave the next day, but she ended up staying out through my birthday. And I called her one day, a couple days after that failed surgery, and I was like bawling. I didn't know what to do. I was like, and then she asked, it was, I'm super emotional. I'm on a lot of Dilaudid. So, like, the floodgates are open, and I'm just, I can't really control my emotions because I'm under the influence. So, she stopped me and, sounded like a snivel pig. And she's like, what do you want to live? Or are you doing it today? And I was like, well, I want to live, obviously. And she's like, so figure it out. She said, go down on meditation. Think about what it is that you want to do and just keep thinking about that. Like, just manifest it. And at the time, I'm still dealing with breaking that down my mind and manifesting. I had read, I listened to that audio book, and, listened to a lot of recordings on, and so I'm still playing the idea. What I did was I got off the phone, or you were on for a little bit, and I got off the phone. her and I taught her meditation, kind of like, and I called her back. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be home by June 1st. I said, I like it. She's like, they're not, you're home. Then I'm like, oh, well, dude. Well, I started telling nurses every day that I'd be home by June 1st. And it to the point where a couple days later, they had found a plan. They just had to move me to a different hospital. So for a couple more days, 23rd, 24th, or something like that, I kept asking, kept asking. We transfer, and they're like, they need a bed, they need a bed, they need a bed, and it didn't look like they're going to want anything soon. So I think like the 25th, the nurse came in there and I said, hey, I'm going to transfer today. So can we go to my room? And she's like, so, okay, 11 o'clock at night. When I came to my room, they're like, hey, we're moving you, going to the hospital. I was like, I told you. Then I had my surgery, and I told all the nurses the day morning of my surgery, I was like, I'm going home tomorrow. I told them I would go home by for June 1st. And they thought I was cute. Again, very, very high. 155 pounds. I'm just this little tall, skinny, cute, green bean or string bean, who thought he was Jesus because my hair was my shoulders and I was trying to go first beard and get a lot of bugs out of Jesus. And the nurses thought it was me. So I had my surgery and I was able to eat and things are looking good. I made this ridiculously miraculous recovery in like 2 days. So May 30th, I think I had the surgery on the 28th or 20th, May 30th, and the lady comes in, she's like, um, I kept she's like, we want people to get you on first. And I said, okay, so what's the good news? She's like, we'll get you on tomorrow. I said, well, let's go. And I fell into my fear and not have a level of resilience and mental toughness. That could have been a terrible, terrible situation. I was in hospital for 8 weeks. And thank you for I was able to stay mentally tough and resilient that whole time. And what I not been, I mean, I could have been thing, not have some of, you either walk out of it like fucking bulletproof, or you walk out of your terrible life. And